Welcome. Something short and sweet in the Parsha. This week, Parshas Re'eh. In the middle of the Parsha, we have a verse which tells us in the words of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Dvorim HaKlolim Sheyeshnan Ba'avodas Hashem. One verse which tells us all the aspects of the service of God. Acharei Hashem Elokeichem Telechu. After HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you shall follow. To take on HaKadosh Baruch Hu as master. V'osoti ro, and in him you should be in awe. V'es mitzvosav tishmoru, and his mitzvos you should guard, says Rashi. Torah's Moshe, all the mitzvos given to us through the Torah of Moshe. Uvekolo tishma'u, and the direction, to listen to the direction of the prophets. V'osot ha'avodah, and him you shall serve, Rashi says, b'mikdasho, to do the service within the Beis HaMikdash. Uvo sid bakum, the pasuk concludes, Ubo sid bakum, and to him you shall cleave. What does that mean? As the Gemara asks, how is it possible to cleave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? To which the Gemara answers, V'halachta bidrachav, he davekt bidrachav, to go, to walk in his ways. Gemol chasadim, just as God bestows kindness, you should bestow his kindness. Kavar mesim, God buries the dead, you should bury the dead. Baker cholim, visit the sick. Kamosha asa, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just as HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. We have the concept, the ultimate in the relationship of a human being to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, uvo sidbuk, to be at one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu through behaving like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be a Rachman, to be merciful, to be kind, to be gracious. The Chavetz Chaim asks on this pasuk, why does it begin with the word acharei, after Hashem, Elokeichem Telechu? Because earlier in the Parsha, we find Rashi defining the word acharei is different from the word achar. Acharei, says Rashi, is zman muflag, is either a time or a place which is very distant. So why is the pasuk suggesting acharei Hashem Elokeichem Telechu? After, at a great distance from Hashem, we should be following Hashem. Shouldn't we be close to Hashem? After all, the pasuk concludes with uvo sid bakun, and in him we shall cling. That's close. And the Chavetz Chaim gives a most remarkable answer, which is a very important idea for the month of Elul, which we're about to enter. Sometimes we look at our spiritual level, we assess where we are, and we say to ourselves, we are so distant. I would like to achieve certain things spiritually, but I'm so far away. Why even try? Maybe I tried in the past, and look where I am. So the pasuk is saying, when it lists all the aspects of divine service, the pasuk says acharei, not achar. The pasuk talks to us, and the pasuk says, I know you might think that you are very distant. Don't worry about it. Hop on the train. Hop on the train. I don't even know if I can make it to the caboose. Says the pasuk, okay. Acharei. Acharei. You're very, very distant. Get on. You will be amazed at what you can achieve. You can achieve uvo sid bakum. Start. Make the effort. There is a phenomenal comment that the Mesil Shashar Moshe Chaim Luzzatto makes in this regard. He's well into the book, and he's talking about a very high level of human achievement called the Nikios. Nikios is someone who's in such control of himself that his personal biases, his Nikios, are not confusing his thought. He's able to rationally think through everything. Nikios is a level that David HaMelech, King David, prided himself over achieving, and lesser, very great people, they weren't there. And then in the middle of this discussion, the Ramchal stops and he says, I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking that this is a very difficult madrega. This is a very difficult level. But let me tell you something. If we would sit here and chart the course of change, you're right. You might not be able to do it. How can I get from point A to point Z to grow to a place where I want to be? To chart that, to explain how it can be, you can't. And then he says these words, Ki hamachshava b'davar kasha min ha'maisa. It's a lot harder to explain it, to chart it out, than to do it. In other words, it's a lot easier done than said. Very often we say to ourselves, something is suggested spiritually, spiritual growth. Easier done than said. Says the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the master of the Jewish soul, of the human heart. That is wrong. It is much easier done than said. I can't explain. Jump on the train. You could do it. Don't give up on it. I have a very dear friend who's my model of spiritual growth. Many years ago, she was looking to make some moves in her life, religiously, spiritually. And she was already late 30s, early 40s. And she said to herself, I can't do this. If only I was much younger. But now I already have a family, I already have children, I'm already set in my job. I can't make these moves. But she decided she was just going to jump on the train. She was going to make some steps. She was going to begin. Once she began, nothing earth-shattering, nothing terribly consequential. At least that's what she thought, but it was very consequential. She got on the train. She felt there was no way she could possibly do it. And she did. And what she did achieve over the last 20 years, it's more than anyone could have imagined. It's more than she could imagine. What a perfect message for Elul. 40 days from this Shabbos, Parshas Re'eh, 40 days to Yom Kippur. 40 days we have in Chazal, we have in the Gemara that 40 days is the day of Yetziras Havlad. An embryo forms from the initial conception to be the basic human being in 40 days. The gender is defined by 40 days. 40 days is the amount of time it takes to set a new life, to set a new course. All we need to do is hop on the train. That's why the Torah says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, Acharei. I'm not writing Achar. I know you might be very distant, or you might think you're very distant. Hop on the train, and Be'ezus Hashem, come Yom Kippur, you will be much closer to Uvo Sit Bakum, to be at one with the Ribono Shel Olam. Thank you so much. Have a very good Elul and a very good Shabbos.